Royal Paladin gets an Narukami card. That's better than a normal Narukami card. Bermuda Triangle gets another Melody support card. Royals get a 6 crit attacking Vanguard. And Bermuda Triangle gets a card that gains all 3 markers. What? What?
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another very exciting Cardfight update, as today's livestream just got finished and oh boy, they dropped some big bombs. There were only 4 cards revealed, but 3 out of those 4 cards were some massive reveals, and I think these are one of the most strongest cards they released to date, as their effects are pretty goddamn insane, and a lot of people are starting losing their shit about what these cards can mean. Without any further ado, let's jump right into these cards, as we got 2 major reveals for Bermuda Triangle and 2 even maybe more major reveals for Royal Paladin for their blaster support. So let's first jump into the Bermuda Triangle cards and then in the blaster support cards. Alright, so first off, they revealed a new support card for Melody, a grade 1, that is Rainy Tear Stessa. And her skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle, it boosted a Vanguard, cost, retire this unit, draw a card, then cast, counter +1, put a grade 3 from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck, and draw a card. So this is basically a card that can go +2 in a good scenario. But it's more in a sense of a +1, as since you need to retire her first in her first skill, but overall you draw 2 extra cards. And the even better about this part is that in a Melody deck, you can even put a grade 3 back to the bottom of your deck, so you have another chance of drawing that or fetching it with your Melody Vanguard that searches for a Melody card, and it has some good synergy with that. The only downside of this card is it's at a pretty damn late game card, as it will take some time to get a grade 3 in drop zone unless you just ditch it there for any kind of skill or maybe with a perfect guard. And also the fact that it only works while boosting your Vanguard might hinder it in some bit. But overall, it's a nice tech card that allows for some good, fast-paced draw potential when you need some more cards to have some available combo pieces in your hand. Then the big reveal for Bermuda Triangle was the last card of their legendary Idol Rare collection. And that is Hard Monopoly Aniska. And her skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. When placed, reveal the 10 cards from the top of your deck and shuffle your deck. If all of those normal units revealed have different card names, acquire 1 Imaginary Gift, Force, Excel, and Protect in any order. That is insane if you think about it, because not only does she gain a Protect, Force, and Excel, she also has her own Force marker on the card. So when you write this card, and you use her skill, and you already have built a Highlander deck, which you know you will get this skill off 100% of the time, you will get 2 Force markers, an Excel marker, as well as a Protect marker. And I'm not sure about this, because this is the very first time about mixing of Protect markers, or about basically mixing of Imaginary Gift markers. You write this thing, and you gain the Force, and then you can use her skill, and it states in any order that you want to. So can you have an Excel marker and then put the Force marker on top of the Excel circle? And it does this for basically no cost, as it doesn't have any cost. And the only cost is that you have built a inconsistent deck with only single one-offs in your normal units to always have a 100% achievement of this skill. And the balance aspect of this card lies in that fact. Before everybody's going nuts about the potential power creep of this card and the mixing of gift markers, note that this card needs to be run in a deck with basically one-offs, which means that you only have 1 copy of this card in your deck. So it depends on how consistent that deck is going to be. You can maybe run multiple copies of certain cards, but then you run the risk of going into this thing and then hitting double units, and then you're basically screwed. But overall, this Highlander deck is looking really powerful with all these new cards. If you can go into this one as your first grade 4, and then go into the one that can call basically full field and then power up anything, now you have an Excel marker. So you will have 4 attacks in the Force clan. That's going to be nuts, and I'm really hyped for this deck. Probably going to be a very inconsistent build with all the one-offs, but it looks like a really fun deck to play. And when it goes off and when you hit your right targets, oh boy, that's gonna be then you're gonna making plays of the years with that deck. And I'm looking forward to that one. Alright, with that out of the way, we have all the Bermuda cards. But we have still two very interesting Royal Paladin cards to be revealed. And the first one, that was Blaster Javelin. And Blaster Javelin is exactly what I predicted it to be. It's the Narukami card with the bind aspect of Narukami in Royal Paladin. His first skill is Continuous Rearguard Circle. During a battle that it boosted, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster or Arc Saver in its card name, so once again we are referring to Arc Saver Dragon to be the supporting grade 3 or 4 in this deck. And then if you have the Vanguard, this unit get power plus 2k. So it's a solid 10k booster, but its other skills what making this card really great. Now that's the Auto Rearguard Circle. When it boosts, if you have 6 units with Blaster in their different card name, choose a rearguard in your opponent's front row and bind it. Yes, they are binding front row units just like Narukami. So this is basically the imaginary rare right card for Naoki in Royal Paladin. So it's gonna be binding, as I already predicted it, and probably a lot of other people already did that as well. But the insane part about this card is, it does it for free. No Counter Blast, no Soul Blast, it just needs a boost. The only downside to this card is that you need to have 6 units, and that's basically the issue with all of these cards that we're going to see with Blasters, is they are incredibly powerful. They do a lot of crazy things, but to use them in their full potential, you need to have a precise field. You need to have 6 different Blasters. That means you need to have all the different Rearguard Blasters, as well as a different kind of Blaster Vanguard. So that either needs to be Exculpate or it needs to be Messianic Blaster himself. You cannot use Exculpate and then rewrite into Blaster Blade, as you probably already have a rearguard with Blaster Blade in its card name, so that's not gonna work. But overall, this card is looking really powerful and promising, depending on how good the support is going to be to fetch all your key cards and all those specific Blaster cards to hand. But the big reveal of the stream was the VR for Royal Paladin himself. And let's go over that card, because oh god, that thing is looking insane. And that is Masonic Lord Blaster. And he got 2 very powerful skills. His first one is Continuous Vanguard Circle. During your turn, if you have 6 units with Blaster in their different card names, this unit gets the original power and critical of all your rearguards. So that means he has his own power, his own crit, and then add all the power and crit of the original power. That's so basically what's printed on the card themselves, so no additional power gaining from that. So the original power that's printed on the card, as well as the crits, and add it to this thing. That means if you're hitting that skill, it's a +6, it's a 6 crit Vanguard attack. So if your opponent has 6 damage, they cannot take that one. As well as that, they need to perfect guard that thing or drop a lot of shield, as it's, I believe in the stream they showcase that if you have all the cards in the field, it's a 69k attack. So yeah, I don't know if they intentionally made it that number or it was just by accident, but alright, I'm fine with that number, sure. Overall, that's pretty damn insane, as that means they can never ever take your Vanguard attack if you meet that condition. So they are always forced to guard one attack, whatever it takes. But what makes this card even more insane than just the original Continuous Vanguard skill is his Auto Vanguard skill. And that's when your drive check reveals a card with Blaster in its card name, so not only Blaster Blade, just Blaster in general, you may call that card to an open rearguard circle. And that is pretty damn good in its own regard, as you can now fix your issue with the fact that you need to have all the different rearguards with Blaster in the card name to activate all their skills. So if you're lucky and you get the missing 1 or 2 pieces for your complete field, in your dry checks, you immediately can call them to the field and then fill out your ranks and then chain off from that point. The only downside to this card is that it needs to be called to an open rearguard circle, so you cannot multi-attack with it, but if that was the case, I think it would be even more insane beyond the scope of what it should be. But what's really awesome about this effect is that not only can you fix your field if you're missing 1 or 2 key pieces to activate all your rearguard skills that needs to have a 6 different blaster field setup, but you can also surprise your opponent when you attack with this thing. You do not have the correct requirements, so you are attacking with a 13k attack with the single crit. They are sitting at 3 damage. They say no guard. and you, with a stroke of luck, hit your last piece to fill out your field. Then you can call it immediately to the field, and then his continuous Vanguard skill pops off, and suddenly you attack with 6 crit and an insane high power value. This can also be the case if they make a 2-2 pass without a perfect guard, and then suddenly you hit your final key piece and it's gone. This is really amazing in the sense that it's an unexpected pressure card, and your opponent is always forced to take in consideration that his continuous Vanguard skill can proc at any moment. And with that, I think we finally see how the Blaster build is gonna work out. It's gonna be a little bit clunky because you are forced to have a perfect setup, but with both Great Freeze, Arcsaver Dragon, and Masonic Lord Blaster, you have ways to have an extra requirement option to fix those requirements themselves. Arcsaver can Superior Call from multiple places to fill out, I believe, 3 extra units onto the field, and Masonic Lord Blaster can get that same effect through the drive checks. The only downside is that if you use its skill that way, you are minusing on your hand, as your drive checks are then going towards the field and not into your hand. But if it's a Blaster unit, it's probably not that high of a shield value, so it's not really that an issue to call to the field. And that's basically everything for today's reveals. They were pretty damn insane. We've got all the markers for Bermuda Triangle, basically 2 force, 1 excel, 1 protect, and that's like, oh my god. It's insane, but at the same time, I'm loving it so much. And then we've got Masonic Lord Blaster on the other side for a Royal Paladin. And again, it's a card that I'm really digging really hard. I'm really excited for both decks, and I'm definitely gonna try building both of them, as the Blaster's build is a lot more interesting than the Alfred build, as well as the Highlander build for Bermuda Triangle is a lot more interesting than the whole Melody build. Probably gonna try that one out as well, but the Highlander, basically both the decks have the same issue. They are very powerful when everything goes right, but it's so easy to let everything go wrong, as they have a lot of high restriction and a high level of conditions that you need to require and to met to be able to get their powerful skills. And I think that's the reason why Bushiroad gave them these insane power skills, as you're not gonna get a reliable way to activate them each and every game and each and every turn, unlike most other VRs and most other powerful cards. So that's what I'm really digging about these new reveals and these new cards. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of all these cards, and if you're excited about these reveals or not, and what you're thinking about it. Let me know. But as always, guys, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one.